I'm Brian with the HVAC School Podcast and HVACRschool.com, and this is
Sal. I'm with Products by Pros.
And Sal's got a microphone today.
It's a little bit new for me. I'm not used to holding things in front of my face like this.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about the Trublu kit from AccuTools and Blue Vac, as well as some of the Blue Vac Micron gauges, a few of the different features, and just do kind of a quick unboxing so you can see everything that you're getting. We're going to be reviewing the Blue Vac Micro, which is the basic Micron gauge from Blue Vac. One really nice thing about all of the Micron or vacuum gauges within the Blue Vac line now is that they all contain Bluetooth, which means they can connect to the really nice Blue Vac app that's made in conjunction with AccuTools for watching the trends of your vacuum. And the differences between the Micro, the LTE, which sits kind of right in between these two, and the Pro is the built-in software packages that come on these gauges. The Micro is a very basic Micron gauge. You can see what your microns are, and you can see that trend over time when connected to the app. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the different Micron gauges in the Blue Vac and AccuTools family. We have the basic Micron gauge, which is the Blue Vac Micro. There's another one that goes in between the two, which is called the Blue Vac LTE, and then we have the Pro. And the difference between these different Micron gauges is not the sensors. The sensors are all really high quality sensors. They're all very reliable tools. It is not Bluetooth because all three of them are Bluetooth connected. It's really the software that comes on them and their capabilities. So the Micro is really just a Micron gauge. You can connect it to the Blue Vac app and watch the trends, which is very nice. If you take a look here on the back, you can see they've got a demonstration of what it looks like on the app, and the app is very powerful with all three, but this is a basic Micron gauge. When you go to the LTE, now you have some more features as far as trends and the ability to hit targets. And then when you get to the Blue Vac Pro, that's where you have all of the features unlocked, both on the gauge itself as well as in the software. So you can do all of the things like decay testing, decay targets, all that sort of thing, right in the device itself and in conjunction with the app, which is very nice. We use Blue Vac gauges and have for years at Kalos, well before I was making videos for them, or even before I knew Jim Bergman or the team at Blue Vac, and the reason why we like them so much is their reliability. They just do exactly what they're supposed to do time and time again. The Pro and the LTE have a nice hook that attaches to the top. Obviously, they're nice standard batteries, so either the AAA on the Blue Vac Micro or the 9-volt batteries on the Pro and the LTE. So there's just not a whole lot that you have to worry about, and they have a lot of really great features if you want those, or if you just want a really nice stable Micron gauge that you're not going to have trouble with for years to come. These are both really great options.
You mentioned a question about the decay availability on the Pro. The Micro, does that have decay? Like, doesn't it show decay on the app itself?
So to answer that question, and again, some of the software has changed recently, and I was just talking to their engineering team. They're really making this in the app just a basic, you can see the trends, you can watch the decay because you can see the graph, but it doesn't give you the ability to hit targets and to build in some of that automation that you might want to build in. And that's really what you get as you go into the LTE and the Pro. As far as the specifics of what each one can do, I would suggest looking on their website and seeing all the details. But again, if you want something that you can deploy to a junior technician especially, and it does a lot of the work for them as far as hitting those targets, making sure that it's clean, tight, and dry, then the Pro version is kind of the Mac Daddy, and the Micro is the more simple version. But they all come with that Bluetooth connectivity, so you can use them with the app. Now we're going to go ahead and open up this case. One really nice thing about this case is that it's super, super heavy duty. I'm going to turn it around so you can see it in this direction. Really, really heavy duty. It's got these 4 clamps on it, and this is true. This kit is either the Pro or the advanced kit. They also make a smaller kit that comes in a little black bag with just a single hose, but this is really the nice setup. And one really nice thing about having this sealed case is that when you store your hoses in it, that's going to prevent moisture from becoming an issue and contaminating your hoses. We also have end caps, which we'll talk about here in a second. But this kit comes with just a menagerie, an assortment of really important pieces here. Comes with instructions which cover the process of pulling a good vacuum, why it matters, kind of provides that just-in-time education for techs out in the field. So for those of you who are business owners and want to deploy this, it describes every different part and what it does and how the app works, which is really important. The next thing is it comes with these 2 hoses. So the Pro Kit comes with 3 1-meter long, so it's 3-foot long hoses. The first thing that I always like to point out of these hoses is that they really can be put in very tight positions. They can be bent pretty easily. Actually, quite a bit easier than some of the other even half-inch hoses out there. These are 3/4 inch interior diameter, which is pretty incredible. And the fact that you have 3 of them means that you could, if you had to, you could connect all 3 of them end to end. We'll talk in a little bit about why that's not a good idea, but you could connect them all end to end if you had to go 9 feet. And you only needed 1, or more practically speaking, there may be cases where you can connect 1 close up and then you need the 6-footer on the other side. Or sometimes you can connect all 3 to different ports on a system. So if you have a refrigeration system, something that has multiple ports, that's a really good way to pull a fast vacuum. The key thing here, what makes these hoses really different, is that these are made of a vinyl material. They don't have perforations in the jacket. It's a very smooth jacket. It doesn't absorb moisture the ways in which some rubber materials can absorb moisture. That's a big advantage. It has these really nice O-rings. You can see how big these O-rings are, and that makes for a really good seal versus some of those smaller internal O-rings that a lot of non-vacuum hoses utilize. The other thing is obviously the internal diameter. That really is going to help with vacuum speed. The number one question we get is, well, if you're throttling down to 1/4 inch on one end, does that make a difference having the hose be that much larger? And the answer is absolutely. I'm not going to go into the science of it, but we've proven it over and over and over again. There's tons of videos out there that talk about this. It absolutely does matter, the size of the hose. In fact, it's one of the biggest factors. And this kit addresses all of that. All right, so now let's talk about the core remover tool, or CRT, that comes in this kit. And you'll see it says AccuTools on the side. It's got the Blue Vac logo on the end, which is a nice little touch. This is not the same as some other similar CRTs that may look similar out there on the marketplace. A lot of guys have thought that it was the same, and it is not. This is a truly vacuum rated, meaning it's been tested under deep vacuum core remover tool, which is very important. In order to pull out the core, you've got this really nice end piece that's a little bit larger than the diameter of the threaded pieces below, so that makes it nice and easy to grab onto. And one thing you can do with these that gives you a sense of their ability to hold a vacuum is just put your finger on the end and pull out, and you can feel the vacuum being pulled just by pulling that core remover tool out. And that's a good indication of a core remover tool that's holding well, is the fact that you can kind of feel that suction against your finger. Obviously, you've got your side port here that has a Schrader in it. That's sort of standard fare for a core remover tool. That's the place that you can connect your vacuum. This is the spot where you connect your vacuum gauge or Micron gauge, and the BluVac Micron gauges come with a little brass adapter that has a core depressor on the one end, and you want to connect that core depressor side to the Schrader core on the core remover tool. That's very important. It's very important that that core is fully depressed. Some of the other products out on the market have had challenges with that core and with the core depressors. They worked a lot of that out with this kit in order to make that a little bit more smooth. One of the features of this core remover tool is that it has double gaskets in the end. That helps allow it pull down to a deep vacuum without having issues with losing some of the vacuum. We have 2 of these core remover tools in the kit. You're also going to notice that there's a cutout here which easily fits either the Pro version, the LTE, or the Micro version. You have nice slots that these can easily fit into the case. Really nice. And then we also have 2 core depressors. Vacuum rated hoses do not have core depressors in them, and that's because you don't want anything that's going to impede the flow through the inside of that hose, and a core depressor is definitely a significant restriction. In cases where you cannot remove the cores, which happens on occasion, 2 most common situations that this occurs is when the valve is in a really awkward position and you can't easily get this big long core remover tool on there, or when you have CoreMax cores in place. So those of you who do work in commercial applications, you're going to find cases where the cores are not designed to be removed because it's a totally different technology. And so with these, all you have to do is just back out the core depressor, put that onto the core, and then tighten it down, and it's got a nice high quality core depressor in there, which is still going to give you better volume flow than you would get otherwise, which is nice because it still has much more open flow through the center. See if you can see that right there. It's got much more open flow through the center than you would have if you were using a core remover tool.
And just having the valve core remover onto the unit, or the valve of the unit, does not depress the Schrader?
No, because you have to, this isn't designed to depress, this is designed to completely remove. So the process of installing this would be you'd pull this out, you would generally leave this shut off, you'd attach that to the unit, then you would open it, and then you would push it in and keep twisting it out until eventually it's going to pop open like that. Then you close the valve, you pull out the Schrader, and now you have free and open flow, which is the best way because a Schrader is a pretty significant restriction. And then you're going to attach your Micron gauge here, and your evacuation hoses are going to go here. So you're going to attach them like that. So and now you have free flow.
So without pulling it out, you have complete restriction, whereas if you had to use this core depressor, because you couldn't remove the Schrader, you could at least depress it.
Correct. Unless you depress that Schrader, you are not going to get any flow. And that is actually a pretty common issue that techs don't understand. The depression of that Schrader or the removal of the Schrader is necessary for flow. And a lot of guys will use these vacuum hoses that are designed for pulling vacuum, and they won't realize that they got to pull that Schrader, and they're like, man, these things don't work at all. Well, yeah, because they're not depressing the core. Or they think they're pulling a deep vacuum, when in fact they're actually not pulling a vacuum on the system at all, and they're only pulling a vacuum on their hoses. There's a lot of little situations like that that you have to pay attention to. This Pro kit comes with a couple different fittings. The advanced kit, and we'll talk about this just quickly here, the advanced kit does not come with the core depressors, it does not come with the 90-degree fittings, and it does not have the extra hose. So if you had the advanced kit, you would come with 2 of these hoses, 2 of these 3-foot or 1-meter hoses, and you would not have these 90-degree fittings or the core depressors. So you can see here it shows a comparison of what's in the advanced kit versus what's in the Pro kit. The Pro kit, first off, has the 3 hoses. It has more clamps, obviously, to go along with that. It has the 90-degree adapter, and it also has the core depressors. The advanced kit does not have some of those items. But other than that, it does come in the same kit. They're both going to have the same core products inside, just a few more in the Trublu Pro kit as well as the core depressors. All right, so we've got a couple different fittings. We've got quarter-inch straight fittings in this Pro kit here, and these are going to be what attach to your core remover tools. Again, it's important when you're using CRTs that you're pulling them all the way out and you're attaching here. I've seen some guys attach their vacuum to the side port, and that's not going to work for several reasons. These fittings do not have core depressors in them, so that's one factor. But the other factor is that you're really wanting to pull on no Schrader cores, and so why would you connect to a side port that has a Schrader core? This is for your Micron gauge, for your vacuum gauge to attach to. All right, so you've got 2 of these, quarter-inch straight on. You've got 2 in the Pro kit. You've got 2 of the 90-degree fittings, which come in really handy. These are not in the advanced kit, but they can be purchased separately. You've got your large fittings here. You've got both a 1/2-inch connector and a 3/8 connector, and this comes in handy because in some cases you're going to have a pump that does not have a 1/2-inch connector. If you do have a 1/2-inch connector, use the 1/2-inch, or if you have 2 ports, then you can actually use both, which comes in handy. You also have your T, and I'm going to show you briefly how this is connected to a vacuum pump. Deep down in here, you've got several additional O-rings, and these O-rings are a big part of the magic. Not only do the hoses, like we've mentioned, they don't have the permeability, so they don't leak as much. They're a larger internal diameter, but also these O-rings are going to last a lot longer, and they're going to seal a lot better than some of the competitive products out there.
Do you have to pre-grease the O-rings when you put them on to the...
It's okay, so as far as, you don't need to use oils or assembly lubricants. I still do use a little bit of Nylog. That's actually kind of a disputed question. It's not an issue so much as it is Nylog does attract dirt, and so if you're going to be really good about keeping them clean and putting the caps back on and all that, there is some advantage to using Nylog. But of any hoses that have ever been made, these with these great big O-rings really don't need any additional lubricant. If anything, maybe put just a dab of mineral oil on them or something, can't hurt. Again, a lot of that is just force of habit once you get used to doing something. Then in addition, you have 3 of these smaller clamps. Now, and there's 2 different ways you can think about these clamps. So you've got 3 of these smaller clamps and you've got 3 of the larger clamps. And a lot of guys ask, well, which one should I use on which end? Here's what it comes down to. These larger clamps are easier to get on and off. So they're just easier to get on and off, but they're larger. And so sometimes it's going to get in the way near the equipment. These ones are more difficult to get on and off, but they're smaller. That's the only difference. They both do the job effectively. These probably are not going to last quite as long as the others, especially if you're taking them on and off a lot. So the way some guys think of it is you're going to put these ones at the pump because it's not near the ports. And this often comes down to what type of work you do. If you're doing residential HVAC, then space is a big consideration. If you're doing larger commercial HVAC, then space, access to the ports is often quite a bit easier. And so if you're doing big commercial HVAC, I would put these by the equipment ports, and I would put these up by the pump. If you're doing small residential, I would put these down by the ports and these by the pump just because space is so important. So let me show you actually assembling these. Get them nice and snug. You don't have to over tighten them. Again, you have these nice big O-rings that can press very well. And you saw that was actually, these are the more difficult sides, and that was actually quite easy. This is the side that we would potentially connect to the pump. If we're using a tree like this where you're doing two, then you would connect the tree directly to the pump, and we'll show you how to do that in a second. But now we're gonna connect one of the 1/4-inch ports to the other side, and we'll do one of the 90s. Actually, no, we'll do one of these. Now, I've actually watched Blue Vac do a demonstration where they literally take the hose and set it on the O-ring and it sucks together and seals just as well as having the clamps. So the idea that the clamps have to be super crazy tight in order to make a seal, that's just not the case. Is it possible that maybe you may have one that was pinched a little bit if you didn't get it in there perfectly square? It's possible, but that's where you would just reconnect it.
Do you suggest guys take the fittings off after using it for a vacuum and they're done, and do you suggest them keeping it on there so they don't have to put the fittings back on for each job?
I think it depends on the type of work that you're doing. If you're the type of technician who's doing a lot of different types of applications, then it may make sense to take them off and then recap them with these plastic covers. If you do a lot of the same type of work repetitively, then I would generally leave them in place. But again, I would not leave the hoses on the pump. I would definitely put the hoses back in the kit and then cap the ends in some way, you know, so maybe using 1/4-inch male flare connectors or something inside here to cap the ends of the hoses, because again, you really want to make sure you keep dirt and contaminants out of the inside of the hoses, even though you're putting it inside of this case. Of course, I'm being a little overkill here. That's the nature of the beast. You know, you got to believe in a little bit of overkill if you're an advanced technician. But in general, I would probably leave the fittings on the ends in sort of your standard configuration. You can see how easy these were to connect. They're both on there nice and snug, and the biggest difference is the size and how easy they are to use. The larger one's easier to use to get on, and the smaller ones save a little bit of space for you. Now I'm going to show you how to do this in the standard configuration in order to pull a vacuum as quickly as possible using the Pro kit or the Advanced kit, whatever the case may be. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to connect this tree, and it's fairly obvious. I don't mean to insult your intelligence, but just so that way we demonstrate everything appropriately. You can do it in this configuration, or you can install it in this configuration, whatever is easiest for the application you're working on. Typically, I've seen guys connect it in this orientation. This is how we're going to do it. This NAVAC pump, this is the NRP8DI. We use a lot of these at Kalos. We use a lot of these and a lot of the field piece pumps both. So this is what I happen to have sitting here, and I'm going to show you how to connect to this. The nice thing about this kit is you're going to get the full 8 CFM out of this pump. You're actually going to get what you pay for, whereas if you're using 1/4-inch hoses or going through your gauges, in a lot of cases you're going to get less than 1 CFM. CFM is cubic feet per minute. It's a volume flow rate. So it's got the nice plastic caps. We take those off and definitely save those because those are going to come in handy later. We make sure that we've got the right port size, and sure enough, that is the 1/2-inch port. So we can tighten that down. And then all we're doing is using a clamp to attach this T right there. So nice and easy. We've got 3 of these puppies, so I'm going to open up another one of these and one of the O-rings because it has 2 O-rings that do not have the metal centers, and it's got 2 O-rings that do, so these would be like replacements. And then these O-rings here also have the little metal ring Put this here so you can see it. So you've got some O-rings that got the metal ring and some that don't. For your T, you're going to want to use the ones that have the metal O-ring. So you're going to place that in there, right there, and you can see, I mean, it just sits on there really nice. You don't have to overthink this. So here's an example where it's actually nice to have both connectors, because you can see the handle here on this particular pump sits right up, and it would make it difficult to put the large clamp on. So we're going to use one of the smaller clamps. So we got a perfect situation here for using the smaller clamp. That's why they have both. A lot of people have asked, why do you have two different clamps? Well, this is a perfect example of why you have to have two clamps. So you just have to make sure it overlaps on both sides, and this goes on nice and easy. Just slides right over. And obviously I'm going to want this side to be where I can access it. It'd probably be easier just to do it like this. And so now all we do is just tighten this down, and you've got a nice snug fit. And again, you may want to snug it down a little bit more just so that way you don't have as much, wiggle on it. For heaven's sake, don't use a wrench or channel locks or something stupid on this. You don't want to damage things. It's just nice and finger tight, snug everything up. And now we've got two connection points that now we can connect our larger hoses on. Or if we want, we could put one here, and use the 3/4 inch connector and connect here if I wanted to connect 3 hoses to the pump, which we've done. We did it on a refrigeration unit just the other day and pulled down the entire refrigeration unit. Was a split system, low temp, condenser, receiver, fan coil, everything down below 250 microns in 25 minutes. I want to hear you say wow.
Very impressive.
I know.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, indeed. That is the full demonstration of this kit. All right, so I'm Brian with HVAC School.
And I'm Sal with Products by Pros.
And this has been an unboxing video and demonstration of the BluVac Trublu
Professional Pro
kit. As well as a couple of their different Micron gauges. And we're going to do more on the Micron gauges in the future, so never fear. Thanks for watching.
I am Ron Burgundy. Have you ever done that? You've ever just said that in the middle of your video?
Never said in the middle of my video what?
Yeah, I'm Ron Burgundy.
No, I've never done that. No.